Welcome, my pack, my tribe, to Howling After Dark. Tonight's show is Shamanism, a personal journey. It's all about my trip into shamanism and certain details thereof. But before we get into that, there's a couple things I want to share with you. First of all, I want to say hello to everybody in chat. Say hello to Toxie, who's busy doing whatever Toxie does. And I want to say hello to Sweet and her man Shadow in chat. And also want to say hello to the regulars, Jeremy and Reagan and Becca and everybody else who isn't talking at the moment, my ghost, so to speak. I want to welcome everybody to the show. And I had something interesting happen just today, just a couple hours before the show, actually. This will have a little bit more to do with Wednesday night show, which is all about our recent investigation at the Mansfield Fire Museum. We filmed a episode of our web series there, episode 11 of Forgotten Ghost Towns. I'll be posting that link in chat in just a little bit. But something happened that never ever happens. Our ghost hunts there, by the way, would not at all be possible if it was not for our good friend Bobby Shook, who is the president of the board of directors for the Fire Museum. He's a retired firefighter and arson investigator. And he loves what we do. He loves our ghost hunting. But something interesting happened because he called me. Bobby never, ever calls me. Okay, he called me right around 6 o'clock tonight. And, well, first off, he wanted to thank me for posting our web series on his timeline. And he wanted to tell me about something that happened. One of my investigators, Cody, he's one of our group's co-founders, and him stayed after everyone left to clean up a little bit and turn the lights off and all that stuff. And he was telling me how him and Cody were outside, talking, but, kind of getting ready to leave. And all of a sudden they heard these noises, like somebody was having a party. Like really loud, boisterous, like party-type noises. And they could hear, like, crackling, like from a bonfire. And it was, like, around the corner of this building, which is where, like, the back part of the parking lot is. And he said that they went over there and there was nobody there at all. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Because we already that night we were getting stuff that we had never gotten before. Like there were actually disembodied noises and stuff caught on my camera, which does happen. It just doesn't happen very often. And we got a very funny EVP that night, which you'll be hearing about on Wednesday. You'll actually hear it. But I kind of wanted to share this. For those of you that have been tuning into my show for a little bit now, you heard this rant I did last week about a member of my former team, Pace, by the name of Joe James. And we had not even brought Pace We didn't ask any questions about him. We didn't say anything about him. It was totally involuntary on our part, but we got an EVP that goes Pace. And then you'll hear me go, what about Pace? And they go, they suck. I swear we did not go that at all. we didn't push that. It's just what they said. We had nothing to do with it. I swear to God. I just thought it was funny. Okay, so anyways, going on with tonight's theme, the whole reason why I'm covering this topic tonight is because our good friend from Pal's Chat, Sweet wanted me to do this because, well, without getting too personal, her and her family recently suffered a loss, and she had either read or heard or somebody had told her about this tobacco ritual, and I wanted to explain a little bit about what it is and what it actually entails. It's actually a two-part thing, because it's not just tobacco, it's also sage. And to kind of explain this, I need to explain a little bit about Native culture. In Native culture, whenever you are going to visit an elder, somebody older than you, whether it's in your own family or just within your tribe or what have you, it is customary to bring a gift. And the most traditional of that gift is a tobacco pouch with tobacco in it. Reason why is like whenever you are seeking wisdom, which is why you would be seeing an elder traditionally, you are seeking wisdom. Well, a part of the whole ritual of seeking wisdom is to share what white people commonly refer to as a peace pipe. And so, same thing kind of goes with our funeral rituals too, because what the tobacco is actually used for, the tobacco isn't for the spirit of the departed person. I want to make that very clear. What the tobacco actually is for the ancestor spirits. You're giving them the gift of tobacco to do something for you. And in this case, the something for you is for them to help the spirit of the departed person to the land of their ancestors, the land of the dead, in essence. So the way you would do this ritual is you would either go to a place that's personal to that person, or you would go to the grave site, or wherever you feel the strongest connection to them, wherever it may be. And you need to have 2 bowls or containers, whatever. Could be. I think the best thing to do would be to use something natural like conch shells. And in one you would have prepared 2 pinches of tobacco, by the way. The first pinch, what you would do is you would light it and let it smoke. And you place that on, we'll say we're talking about a grave here. You'd place that on one side of the grave, the left side. And then in the other conch shell or bowl or what have you, you would light some sage. And you'd place that on the right side. Now, what the purpose of the sage is the sage smoke is to help the spirit of the departed person in question to move on. Because sage is the closest substance on earth, besides perhaps water, that is closest to spirit, like what they're made of. Or that's what tradition dictates anyways. So the sage is to help them move on, and the tobacco is to call your ancestors and the ancestors of the person in question to help them move on as well. And once you have both of these things lit, you would say, traditionally you would say a prayer. You would say Uniqua, which is the Cherokee word in my case for the Creator. Uniqua and all my ancestors, come before me now and help this blessed soul to the land of our forefathers. And you would say that prayer 3 times. Always in threes. Always in threes. Even if you want to say it more than that, you could say it 3 times, and if you still want to say it, you would have to say it 3 more times. It's always got to be in multiples of 3. Yes, Sweetie asked. So for those who have already passed before, yes. Yes, that's right. Like I said, the sage is to help the spirit of the person in question move on, and the tobacco is a gift for the ancestor spirits. Now, here's why I said there needs to be 2 pinches, because some of it you're going to burn. And then you say your prayer. You say Uniqua, Creator, God, whatever it is you believe in. And my ancestor spirits, come before me now and help this beloved soul to the land of our ancestors. And you would say that 3 times, and then once you say that 3 times, and the tobacco in the conch shell or the bowl or what have you is burned, you would empty it out. Make sure it's out. You don't want to start any fires. Making sure it's out. You dump it out. And then the other pinch of tobacco you would leave in that place. But yes, it's all for those who have already passed. Now, people believe in different things, and I'm not here to lessen anything anybody believes. All I'm going to tell you is, in my experience, this is what works for me. This lifestyle, this belief system is what works for me. Now, there's a lot of things I could say about like Christianity or Catholicism or what have you. I'm not going to do that. That's not what tonight is about. But I will say that I have spent time in Christian churches. I've spent time in Catholic churches. I've spent time among Buddhists. I've spent time among Hindus and Muslims. And not only in my personal life, in my personal opinion, have I seen more evidence that this life is the right one for me. I have photographic proof. I have no interest in proving anything to anybody. I'm just saying that for my own satisfaction, I have photographic proof. There's actually a picture of me, and I can actually find it. I don't know where exactly it is at the moment, but I do have it somewhere. It was done at an investigation right near the time when I formed this group, about 2-3 years ago. We were in a particular location next to a graveyard, and it was kind of like in this alley, and we kind of sort of figured out that there's probably like a portal or vortex or something there that is drawing spirits to it. And that, plus it's right next to a graveyard. Yada, yada, yada. But in any case, we would take pictures with this... We would take pictures with this particular camera. Every picture we would take before we went to this place was completely normal. Every picture we would take after we left this place was completely normal. No anomalies at all whatsoever. But for whatever reason, in this place, the pictures show things that aren't normal. Not by society standards, anyways. So, in this one picture, and to also help clarify, my totem, and I'll get into totems here in a little bit, my totem is wolf, eagle, cougar, and bear. Okay? So my main ones, my two main ones are wolf and eagle. Wolf is symbolic of family and loyalty and tribe and respect. Eagle is symbolic of wisdom and knowledge and foresight. But in this one particular picture, there was believed to have been a spirit roaming around that belonged to a person who's buried in this graveyard in question. That was a very disgusting murder, and it was messing with people. And in this one particular picture, I've got eagle perched on one shoulder, wolf coming out my other side, and up in the trees right above my head are my ancestors with drawn bows. And every time I look at that picture, all I can think is, yeah, I'm right. Now, I'm not saying that other people are wrong. Other people believe whatever they're going to believe, and that's all good. But for me, there you have it. Sweet's asking me in chat, what if you're unsure of your Indian background? What do you mean if you're unsure? Are you asking if you're unsure whether or not you should believe it or not? Or are you asking, what do you do in case you are unsure? Actually, I have an answer for either question. I'm just curious what you mean. Anyways, if you mean that as far as that ritual goes, it doesn't really matter. Um, you know, it's whatever you believe in, really. It's going to be what works. But, I'm explaining to you what the ritual entails and what it's about. And from my perspective, anyways, because I'm Cherokee and Blackfoot, that's what it is. It may be different for other backgrounds of Indians. I don't know. Um, but in any case, if you're asking if you're unsure of your personal background, like you don't know what tribe you belong to, there are actually ways of finding out. Hit me up later and I can give you some information on that. And if you mean, the other way, then, well, there are ways of finding out about that too. And once again, hit me up and I'll explain it to you. But in any case, yeah, so, sorry, got distracted there for a second. Yeah, so I'm not trying to look down on anybody's religious or spiritual beliefs. That's not something I like to do or anything like that. So all I know is what works for me, and that's all I'm talking about tonight. Now, as for going into what started me on this journey, I'm kind of unique. I'm not trying to sound boastful or anything when I say this, and I know a lot of you people out there probably have no idea what the significance of this was. But the day I was born was also the day a white buffalo was born. Now, in native culture, white buffalo are extremely rare and have been prophesied for years that a white buffalo being born symbolizes the return to prominence of Native Americans in this country. So it's kind of a big deal. it'd be kind of akin to the second coming of Christ, sort of. It has happened a few times over the years. The last time was in 2010, I think. So it happens once every 30 years or so. But yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And because of that, they kind of knew that there was going to be something special about me. And they just didn't know what it was. Everything I know about being Native American, about being a shaman, by the way, I learned from my grandfather, my auntie. And he was a shaman before I was. Great, great man. And was also a great hunter and tracker. Grown up with him, like, well, let me put you this way. By the time I was 9 years old, I could track a cougar over Bear Rock. If you don't know how difficult that is, I can't explain it to you. Let's just say that it's you have to be exceptionally good at it to be able to do that. But even before, like, typically when you find out what your totem is, well, you have to go through a vision quest. Okay, and what that entails differs from tribe to tribe, place to place. For us, what it entails is you go on a 4-day fast. That means you don't eat for 4 days. Okay, so you don't eat for 4 days, and then they take you, like, well, they took me up on top of this mountain peak and left me there alone with nothing but a blanket and a knife. And I was there for probably another day before I had my first vision. And my first vision kind of told me something that we had already known. Because just like 4 years prior, when I was 9, I was hunting with my granddad, and we separated from each other, because we were tracking deer, and track split, and so we separated. I went one way, he went the other, and in the process of me following these tracks, I ran right into the middle of a pack of wolves. And there was this great big alpha. And these aren't like small little gray wolves like people out west get, about the size of a coyote. No. These were freaking huge ass timber wolves. They weigh about 200 pounds on a good day. Just to give give you an idea. Anyways, so this big ass alpha and me start staring at each other. Well, when a pack of wolves get together, and there's a new wolf in the mix, this is how they establish a pecking order. This is how you find out where you're at in their pack. And me and this wolf were staring at each other. And it was about one of the most spiritual experiences outside of the paranormal that I've ever had. We were staring at each other and staring at each other, and at some point it was like I was still staring at him, but I was like, it's almost like my spirit went somewhere else. And next thing I know, I'm getting shook by my grandfather. This wolf has already ran off a bit, and therefore has looked away first. And I'm snapping out of it, and hours have gone by. And it didn't seem like hours. It seemed like maybe minutes to me. It was very surreal. But they always knew that my totem was going to be wolf even after that day because of this experience. And sure enough, I have this vision, and I'm in the vision. I'm in a dingy old building, like a rundown cabin, and I see like something out of the corner of my eye, like this shadow go across the doorway leading to the outside. And I go and I look for it, and I see this shadow, low to the ground, just darting off. So I start following it, and I follow it, and I follow it, and I follow it, and I must have followed it for miles. And it finally it leads me into kind of this dead end canyon. Only it's not there. And then just all of a sudden, like I didn't even hear anything. I just get this feeling like I'm not alone. And I turn around, and there's this huge black timber wolf. Just sitting on the ground staring at me. And then I came to, and I told my granddad, and I told the other elders about this vision. And that was the day I got my name. Anichawaya. Anichawaya. Ghost wolf. Ironically, I don't know if they knew it at the time. My granddad always seemed to know more than he let on, so anything's possible. But one thing I do know is that we found out later on was that I was the only person ever that could sneak up on my grandfather. Which is saying a lot. If you can sneak up on an Indian, you're doing good. But I mean, even saying that, sneaking up on my granddad was like an entirely different proposition. Like even the best Indians can sneak up on that man. His instincts were wired almost to the point of paranoia. But yeah, it's not just the fasting, by the way, for Vision Quest. That's not the hard part, and it's not even just the going alone into the woods by yourself with nothing and still having no food. That's not even the hard part. The hard part, actually, believe it or not, and it's actually the part that people have died from because they've not properly prepared for it, is the sweat lodge that takes place after it, or the whole purpose for a sweat lodge, by the way, is if you have not had a vision on your own, it's to kind of help you along. And the way it does this is it's traditionally a lodge, kind of a dome tent, if you will, made out of deer and various other game skins. And in the center is a bunch of hot rocks that were heated by a fire that kept going for 4 days. Like basically the entire time you were fasting, this fire was being fed to heat these rocks. And then they pour water over it, which causes steam, which of course raises the temperature inside the lodge, which puts you into a hallucinatory state, which is to give you a vision. That is the hard part. That's actually the part that has killed people before, because, like I said, they didn't prepare for it. They didn't hydrate enough. They didn't physically condition themselves, or they had underlying conditions that they weren't honest about. But yeah, that's actually the hard part, by the way. I just wanted to point that out. And the Sweet says she doesn't know much about what Indian part she has in her, and does it very okay. That's what she was curious about. Okay, as far as finding out what Indian people you come from, it is a difficult process, but there are some ways around a lot of it. Like if you can find out because every native in this country after 1874 was given a white man's name. Basically, we weren't. It was a part of this process. They were trying to remove our native identities. With their boarding schools and everything. So if you can find whoever that person in your family was, if you can find their anglicized name, if you will, you can look on what is called the Dawes rolls. That's Dawes, D-A-W-E-S, rolls. And it is a matter of public record. You can actually look it up online. They have them in. They have some of them in the National Archives, which is a open to the public site. I can get you the link for it at a later date, and you can look and see if their name is on there. And with that information, and you want to if it is on there, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to contact the National Archives and have them send you a notarized hard copy of it, with that person's name highlighted, that you can take and have notarized, and from there you can begin the process of being accepted into that particular tribe, whatever it is.